Okay, so we are now in a position where we have done some work on our model. We have run the prototyping tool on the model back and forth and ended up in a situation where we have a couple of views that allows us navigation between the views. The next step is maybe that we want to involve real users trying out the system. And of course we could have the real users download the MDriven Designer and execute the same way as we do here. But that will probably not happen. And even if it was, when we are done and actually setting the system in production, we want to consume it another way, of course. So that leads us to Turnkey, MDriven Turnkey. MDriven Turnkey is a platform to execute everything you do in MDriven Designer in a cloud app. So let's get that started. From within MDriven Designer you will find the cloud connection tool. So something like this screen. And this is the login that you do to your license and with your license and ticket, password and user. I usually use the Google social login to avoid to remove the hassle of remembering passwords, etc. So I'm pressing that one, and now I'm logged in as myself. I then need to press this refresh button to get access to the turnkey sites that I have that are available to me. Refresh. And now I see the turnkey sites that are available to me. In your combo box there will probably be one or two. So this is the one that I'm going for. This is a blank one that I just set up following other instructions on the site. I'm not going to explain that here, but it's easy to find how to do this. So we can check status on that one, and we see that it responds. So what we will want to do now is to upload the model that we have into this site. So upload model, and then it's done, and we check status, and what it says, it's evolve started, meaning that okay, the database wasn't in a state that equals the model that I have uploaded, so the turnkey logic need to change it. It says that it has done the following change script and applied it to the database, and that's okay. So having done that, we should actually head over to, what we can do is to jump to the license and ticket site. That pops up here. This is what it looks like. I'm gonna log into that as well with my Google account. Well, now it doesn't remember because this was Edge, so I'm gonna do the same thing in Chrome, so I don't have to have my Google login in two places. License and ticket, and I was logged in, and I go to show my turnkey sites, And this list is of course the same as the list I see here from this one. Manage one turnkey site and then visit site. I'm going to press Control so that I don't navigate away from this. A new tab, and then it tells me missing page. You need to create a view model named index. Okay, so that's a requirement for a turnkey driven site, that the model contains a view model that's named index. So easy enough to fix. Add model elements, add a view model. You didn't see that one because that was out of screen. I'll call this one index. And when I open it up, I'm gonna give it a class, add a generic column, just write a string. This is index. Now when I go back to the cloud dialog, I don't have to log in again. It will remain logged in as long as I have in this session of MDriven Designer, and I don't have to do anything here. I'm just uploading the model once more, and that's pretty fast. So I'm heading back to this one and then pressing refresh, and now it found the view model with that was named index, and now the menus show up from the actions that we did, the global actions. So if we were to show all houses now, we will still get an error, and it will look like this, and it says that sysuser is not a type name. So this is further requirement for MDriven models, that there is a consistent way to identify users of your system. Normally this is these requirements are fulfilled in the initial model from Turnkey, but now we started with a blank model, so we don't have it. And what we did when we uploaded our model was that we replaced the default model from Turnkey. So this, we need to amend our model to fulfill these requirements. That's quite easy to do. We just go to capable object site to find in the support area MDriven Designer Snippets. So snippets can be further explored on these links on the site, but what they are actually pieces of models that you can reuse between different models, different projects that you have. So what I'm gonna do is gonna download the ASP.NET identity snippets, and what these do is actually add what's needed to use ASP.NET identity. We're gonna see how that looks. So I'm gonna show the folder where this is. I'm gonna copy that folder like that, and heading back to MDriven Designer. This will add a few classes, and I can have them here, but I would rather do a new package. A package is just a way to separate things a bit, like a namespace. add model elements, add package. So that's package 2, and in package 2 I want to apply my snippet, but okay, I haven't imported the snippet to the MDriven Designer yet. Gonna need to do that. Import snippets, and going to the download dialog, and this was the one that I downloaded, and right clicking on package snippets, and now I find the imported snippet here, ASP.NET identity user auth for turnkey. When I click it, I get apply dialog. This one doesn't have any settings. If this snippet had settings replacements, then I could enter the values here, but I just do apply. As I do apply, I got classes added. Okay, now I see that they weren't added to my package 2, but they were added to the package 1, and this is probably because the snippet had them. Well, I don't really know, but I need to check that out. What I can do is to point at these and say that they should belong to package 2 instead. So that one, package 2, this one, package 2. And how I find them is all the ones that start with sys. So again, there's actually no need to have them in a separate package. It's just for making it a bit more clear that I haven't actually modeled these myself. I just used them. And of course, to get a view of an understanding of what's there, we could add a new diagram, add a class diagram, and click that one up, and then I will drag these onto here. This user claim, like that. Now they're all here. So what they do is actually that when a user authenticates with your site, when it registers with your site, it will create a sys user object that will be available to you. And whenever a sys user is logged into your site, the sys singleton will point out the current user in this transient association. So you can always find this class, which is a singleton, which means it has a single object accessed with the OCL operator OCL singleton. So you can easily get hold on that object that has this association that points out the current user. And from that current user you can find roles that this user has. If it has logged in with an external login like I did with Google, it will be here. And if there are certain claims made on this user, like it has this email address or something like that, they will be available here. Okay. So again, now we have prepared our model for the cloud to handle authorization. So back to the cloud dialog, upload the model again, check the status again, and now we see that it has evolved our little database to contain these new classes. Head back to Chrome and see if we have better luck this time to show all houses. Yes, we have. But since we are now in the cloud and not using our little XML file, we don't have any houses. So, but the action is there. So if I press that one, I will see that a new house is created for me. I can save that new house. I'm gonna add yet another one and save that one as well. When I select one of the houses, I'm presented with the options available for that selected row. This 0 here is actually just the default representation of the house, so that I could change in my model if I wanted to. Show house navigates to the new house, and I could upload an image for this house. I will set an address. Like that. And if I want to pick tenants by search, I will get up a search dialog, and of course I don't have any tenants, so that will be empty. But since the prototyping worked with a XML file initially, but the online globally available application cannot work with the same XML file. But can the prototyping work with the same data that we see in the cloud then? Well, yes. So instead of choosing the persistence XML, we can choose the persistence MDriven server. And since we have been in the cloud dialog already and told it that it was demo 55 at the Azure websites that we were using, it will suggest that one. So we could start a system against that one. And run the model locally to continue designing here. Show all houses, and here is the house that we added online. So if we were to change the upload the image again from here, we would expect it to show up here as well. So I'm gonna refresh that one, and now we have it there. So when we needed test data before, we used the import tool. Let's do that again. But now we're connected to the MDriven server. Start system, and in the debugger, import tab separated, and the view model name was import persons, and the first name and last name, and we imported them like that and updated them like so. And now we should find them in, if we pick search, and we get something like that. So what Turnkey does for you is that it enables you to have any functionality that you model in your MDriven Designer system and execute it in the cloud in a fully responsive web application that the user can execute on their phone, and then it will fold like this. Of course, you can work a lot with styles and style sheets, etc. to control the rendering, but the basic idea is that a lot of things could be automatically generated from the information that you have in the model, thus saving you a lot of headache for debugging and developing a UI for every possible view that you need in your system. Okay, but a really important thing being on the web is authentication. How can we be sure that only the correct persons are accessing our information? So we're gonna take a look at that. First of all, since we added the things to control who's logged in, we now have the ability to actually log into this site. But this site doesn't have any users yet, so we need to register. I'm gonna register with with my email like that, and enter password. Like that, register. So now I'm logged in as myself, but there's really was no difference if I could show all houses if I'm logged in or logged out. So that's a major problem. We only want to show all houses to logged in users. How would we go about that? Then it's the access groups that come into play. Looks like this. I'm gonna create a new access group. I'm gonna call it only logged in, and the enable expression for this action should be that the user is logged in, or maybe even the visible expression, should the action show at all. And let's check the sys singleton class. It has an operator called OCL singleton. This is the only instance of this object, and that in turn has a association called current user. And we want to make sure that this is not empty. That's the primary thing, because if it's empty, no user is logged in, right? So that's the access group that's the rule for this access group. So actions controlled by only logged in. Well, we want to make sure that the show all houses is controlled by this, and maybe also the show all persons. So now we have stated that these actions are controlled by this access group. and that access group requires, in order for the action to be visible, that the current user is not empty. Pretty straightforward. So we head back to the cloud dialog, we upload the model, and as we do, and we refresh this one, we see there are no actions at all for the views because there were no sub actions. So if I log in, then I see them. So this is one way to limit access to only logged in users. And of course, if there were other criteria like the user must be in a certain role, well, then I would just amend my expression for the only logged in access group. And you ask what? How? Well, maybe access current user and follow the link to this user role and select from that to see if there's a certain aspect that I fulfill. But I'm not going to do that now. So the access group can control actions if they are going to be enabled or visible. But since we're on the web, there is a possibility that some user has that was logged in has a correct URL to one of our views and use that directly. So to mitigate this, that make sure that they also logged in, we're gonna add all houses and all persons views to the access group. Like that. So what we have seen today then is the ability to execute your model in the cloud with MDriven Turnkey. So everything you do in MDriven Designer you can execute in MDriven Turnkey. You have we have shown access groups and how we can use them to authenticate and authorize users. You can have multiple access groups for any kind of logic that you want to give to a certain group of people. And we have shown how you can continue with the fast pace loop of edit and deploy that we do in the prototyping, even in the cloud. And you don't have to choose, you can use both at the same time, running towards the same data. Okay, we will end there for today. Thank you.